Y'all, first of all, grand whatever, Pleiadians, party people, and lay mamas, welcome to Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades, episode 46, posted on April 20th, 2026. This episode is called 420 because, it is 420. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Before anything, I have been having so much trouble over the course of the last couple of months. We keep it pushing here. You guys know that, otherwise I would not be here. Today we have the light on in the closet. Unfortunate. It is like 8:30 p.m. I'm going to be posting this pretty late, but hey, it's still Monday and we are grateful for that, aren't we? Everyone who has been here on my channel, thank you guys so much again. Just like 3 months ago, not only did I get into a car crash and then a bus crash, got a concussion, but also just like 10 days before that, I had just moved back to Houston from Austin. And then on top of that, that week before I had gotten into the car crash, I was just staying in Alabama with my partner for the entire week. So basically, even though I had just moved to Houston, it's not even really like I got to spend time in Houston. So yeah, not having my car has been really difficult. And then today, finally, I got a car. Thank God. That is news. That's an announcement that I have to make. But I really haven't told many people because I'm just slowly taking the steps in what that means, because then life moves really quickly, and life has moved a little bit slower than it typically has been. Although that does not feel great, it's all right, it's whatever. The fact that I have my car now and things keep moving forward, I do feel like my brain is back where it used to be. Like, I felt like I was doing like 4 days worth of work in one day. I'm back at feeling like I'm doing 4 days worth of work in one day. But again, at some point in life, I was at a third of a day's work in one day, and that was really difficult for me because it took 3 days to get to do one day's worth of work. But here we are. It's the end of April. We're about to get to May, and life continues. So 420, let's just get into it now. First off, I'm on my period, and thank God that medicine exists, because if I didn't have this plant, I honestly would have worse cramps. And you guys may not know this about me, but when I was a child, I unfortunately had horrible periods. I would literally have 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks off. And I don't know if you guys can imagine that, but imagine being like 11, 10, maybe even 12, 13, 14, 15, going through 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. That's 6 months out of the year where I was bleeding, and I would pass out, I would throw up. I was also going through, unfortunately, eating disorders. I had bulimia when I was younger, so I would binge eat, and then, what subsequently happens to get you to bulimia, unfortunately. And if you don't know what that is, maybe that's for the best, but I'll educate you right now. That's purging your food. If you've never known what that is, thank God, and I hope that it remains away from your life. If you know what that is, and if you've been affected by it, afflicted by it, if someone you know has it, I'm so sorry. Again, it's not a great thing. Also, again, it's late at night. Thank you guys so much for having Bonnet Pleiades alongside y'all. This is a new version of myself that I don't think you guys have seen. My ends of my hair, I have got horrible split ends right now. And if you guys know anything about satin and silk, it supposedly keeps your hair, healthier. It stops it from having breakage. Also, if I took care of my hair better when it was shorter, I would have had a different texture right now, and that curly hair also benefits from having this, but that's neither here nor there. I guess wanted to talk about that because that includes brown culture. Also, white people can have curly hair as well, but typically I feel like black and brown people have white hair, or sorry, curly hair more so. But I guess I said white hair as a Freudian slip right there because I have straight hair, unfortunately. Anyway, so this day means something to me, but it means nothing to others. And it means everything to some people. And spoilers, most days mean the same to everyone, right? Because some days mean everything to everyone. Some days mean everything to no one. And yeah, even if it means everything to everyone, that's also objective, right? Because there may be one individual where they don't really care. Like, it may be like Halloween or something, and a majority of the world may participate and celebrate, but there may be one individual in their house loathing and being very angry, right? I have just like a flood of emotions always. I am the river. I'm saying this because I'm experiencing a text message that I've been kind of waiting and anticipating, but it's whatever. I asked for it. A lot has been going on. Again, 4 days worth of work in one day, and that's why the flood of emotions exists. But yeah, it shouldn't mean nothing to some people, in my opinion, because there are many people in this world that are incarcerated, you know, that they shouldn't be incarcerated. Lots of Black and brown individuals, specifically people of color, and that's disgusting, that's disturbing, because there are for-profit prisons. That literally means that slavery exists within our system to this day. Slavery is illegal, isn't it? Didn't we have a vote or whatever? That's why reparations need to continue to happen. And unfortunately, I don't see it happening. You know, we still have people going to jail over marijuana. And unfortunately, again, you know, I have had this conversation a lot, very often. When I was in college, unfortunately, I am a college dropout from UTSA. Go Roadrunners or whatever, I don't know. But, you know, when I went to UTSA, I was grateful to have a teacher who got us to post on YouTube our decisions or our opinions, our experiences with marijuana, and whether we were for legalizing or against it. And many people had many different opinions because, you know, this is Texas, and in San Antonio, some people are Republicans, unfortunately, even if they're getting an education. But those people, you know, I feel like were the minority, because medical marijuana has proven to help people with cancer, has proven to help people with anxiety, depression, eating disorders, mental health disorders, physical health disorders, pain disorders, what's it called, arthritis. You know, I've got metal in my arm, it helps for that reason too. I've got many different mental illnesses. We have spoken on this topic: CPTSD, OCD, BPD, bipolar disorder, just to name a few. And sometimes people have worsening medical health because of their usage of marijuana. But again, that's a conversation that we have to have in this modern day and age, because if we overuse it, then we may have difficulties mentally, and that's okay. That's just a part of the process, you know. It's not okay to get to the point of addiction where it's so bad and physical. You know, I've been there. And again, I was a child when I began using, so there's a plethora of problems in this world. You know, I was really depressed. Again, there was something that I needed a saving grace at the end of the day. You know, unfortunately, you guys may not know this, I may not have ever spoken about this, but when I was younger, I've had insomnia. I used to not be able to sleep starting from when I was 11 because I had night terrors and I had nightmares, and many people did not even tell me that these were night terrors, because I thought night terrors were where you would scream when you wake up, you know. But night terrors can also be where you're laughing because you're just so hysteric and you're waking up because that's the only thing that you can do, because it's comedic, because you laugh when it's uncomfortable. It can also be where you cry when you wake up and you just can't stop crying because of the dream that you just had, because it was so realistic. And yeah, I had dreams where unfortunately the person who had assaulted me sexually, unfortunately, abused me when I was 11 and 12. You know, again, when I was going through the process of experiencing my first periods, I had started to get insomnia because I had visualized, unfortunately, in these dreams, this individual taking my life. And this individual has also harmed others post my incidents, actually, and has gone as far as attempting to take their lives again, you know. And this individual stays free because our justice system is broken. Unfortunately, people go to jail for marijuana and not for harming individuals. This individual has harmed 30 plus individuals and went to UTSA with me. In fact, may have gotten his degree at UTSA and unfortunately still lives in San Antonio and has a partner. And unfortunately, I think these two people do evil acts together. And they're in the rave scene. You know, I've given away way too much information already, because if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know, unfortunately. Because again, people in my junior high, people in my high school, they know, and even people in my college, they know, because that individual has caused pain. And we talk about justice here, we talk about survivors here, we talk about victims here, because unfortunately, again, our government, our justice systems, people talk about transformative justice in their communities as well, and then they don't do transformative justice. They get people with power and then they put them against people with no power, and then they put them in groups where they have their friends, but you know, the people in power have powerful friends and the people with no power have unfortunately unpowerful friends. And I'm not saying that they don't have power, I'm just saying that in this capitalistic world, things work differently. Anyway, yeah, this day means a lot to a lot of people. The people that are in prison right now, it means a lot to them. They're thinking about how they're in jail, you know, and you know, right now I am pushing the process of my tapering. You guys have been hearing this for weeks. I keep talking about it. I keep showing up. I keep going to r/leaves, which is the subreddit's online community. You know, I keep thinking about Marijuana Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. I keep thinking about addiction. I keep talking to random strangers and friends and family about the process. You know, this is the depths. I have stayed away from alcohol and nicotine for 2.5+ years. I've stayed away from marijuana vapes for 1.5+ years. Sobriety is a process, and also you don't have to push sobriety or force or coerce anyone into sobriety, you know? People are allowed to choose sobriety on their own terms, of course. Anyway, so I guess let's just move on, because it's 10 minutes into this conversation and there's a plethora of things that we need to talk about, that we need to continue talking about. First of all, my room is a mess. I've been cleaning my room also. I've been eating. I've been doing what I can to take care of my health. That's all we can ask for every single day, right? So talking about drugs, relaxation, partying, social structures, and culture. Our culture is surrounded, unfortunately, by the objectifying, I don't know, by the upholding, the uplifting, by the idolizing of substances, unfortunately. You know, you go to a party and people ask you to drink. You go to a bar and people ask you to drink. You go out to dance and people ask you to drink. You're offered a free drink. You know, this happens more often than you'd like. Your friends, they tell you, oh, why aren't you drinking? Or they forget that you aren't drinking. You know, you meet a friend and it takes a while for them to recognize that this person not only hasn't ever drunk in front of me, but they don't drink, and I should stop offering them drinks. You know, again, there's layers. It's an onion of people who don't drink, people who drink a little bit, people who are addicts, right? People who have died from this, unfortunately. The same thing with nicotine, and the same thing with heroin and fentanyl, unfortunately, right? We have epidemics all around us with drugs. They say the war on drugs, and they talk about marijuana and cocaine. And then the billionaires are the ones doing the most cocaine, you know, it's disgusting. And then they party, and then they say that it's a relaxation. And then people with ADHD say that they can get more work done with cocaine. You know, there's a whole mix, a conglomeration of things that are happening here. And this is just, again, the culture that we live in and we find ourselves in. And some people do wonderful. They do wondrous by staying away from drugs. Some people, it's built into their bones to stay away. You know, it's built into their blood. Their parents never did any drugs. Their grandparents didn't do any drugs. Their great-grandparents that they didn't even know didn't even do any drugs, you know? So it's built into their bones, into their system. The same thing with addicts and their personalities, unfortunately, right? So we have this built into our culture and we do our best to stay away from it. I have, again, participated myself in alcoholic culture, in nicotine addiction culture, weed addiction culture. I'm still in the trenches. I'm still at, you know, the war front. I'm still on the front lines fighting. And yeah, that's just the conversation that I'm bringing to the table at 420, because, you know, some people, they'd be smoking on their session, on their podcast. You know, some people have podcasts. I think even like, what is it, Joe Rogan? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's people that smoke on their podcasts. Elon Musk smoked like on a podcast or something like that, right? Like you guys, if you guys know who I am, then you guys know that like my life maybe not revolves around it, but like benefits from it. So maybe it's a surprise that this is the first time that I'm talking about it so openly, but obviously like on this channel I have changed a lot. It's developed on what the topics have been, how we talk, how comfortable I feel, how I bring the notes to the table, you know, what the notes entail, so on and so forth. So yeah, moving on, sobriety brings the best of both worlds. You have abstinence, quitting, a tolerance, etc. So people go into tolerance breaks at some points, right? Like when some people use weed all throughout their life, even alcohol, nicotine, you know, when they cut back for a week or two, they come back and it's like they never even had a tolerance, but then the tolerance, it builds up right back quick again, because we have half-lives. But like, I think we don't even know exactly what we know in history, in research, you know, we know about half-lives, but then when we exercise and when we drink water and when we have diuretics, then the process goes a little bit faster and you release those toxins faster. And some people, you know, they've been doing very high intensity things, but I guess that also comes into the points of percentages of concentrates, like dabs or, you know, carts the disposable vapes for marijuana versus like just a bud, or even Reggie, you know, if you have like dirt weed. And so yeah, you could have the best of both worlds, and I think that's like on petioles or something like that. I don't know, r/petioles or something like that. There's like a world of people that are taking tolerance breaks on Reddit, and the world of people that are quitting. And there's also like on top of r/leaves, there's r/quitting weed, and then there's also r/trees, because r/weeds is like the it's where people garden, actually, genuinely. And you know, people online, they say garden when they mean smoke, right? So yeah, you have people that are in all sorts of places in this conversation, and it's just 420, it's just April 20th, it's just another day, it's gonna pass by. I've done this podcast before, and I've never done it on a 420 before, and I may not do it for a long time ever again. Who knows? There may not be another overlapping Monday on a 420. But here we are, Mondays, am I right? So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because it goes into my sobriety journey and how difficult it's been, because also where I am in the conversation with weed, there was times where I was in the throes in the conversation with alcohol and nicotine, where I was smoking vapes and cigarettes, you know, and those conversations changed. And even now the conversation has changed. Like, yeah, I am smoking more consistently, but also like, even though I smoke every day, it's like there's a longer period between my sessions, and that is a win. I'll take it. You know, there was like 9 to like 20 sessions a day at some point, and now I have like 2 to 7. I don't know. 7 on a bad day. I think I reach like 5 most days, 6 on a bad day again, you know? So yeah, I'm kind of having the best of both worlds. I haven't had a fully sober day this year, maybe. I would like to have one. I think I will get there. I've been having a lot of difficulty on the tapering process. Like today I got to 1 hour and 59 minutes, and then I got to 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then I got to 3 hours and like 13 minutes since my sessions, right? In between the sessions. And now I at least want to get to 2 hours and 30 minutes. So after this podcast, I should be there. But who knows where we will be, you know? And then I shall get to 3 hours by the time I post this. And then when I get on the phone call with my partner, like we do every night because we're long distance, then I will, thank God, hopefully be at 3 hours and 30 minutes. But who knows? We'll see. But yeah, my brain is working better. If you guys have seen the last couple of months, the documentation that's been going on, then you guys know that my brain has been working kind of slow. And it's been really the forcing that has been getting my brain to move faster, because I feel like I can't even grasp the things that I'm talking about, but I know that I'm talking about things that matter, you know? And it's like, okay, well, I've talked about those topics, but there's a version of myself that's actually like who I am. And I'm like, wow, I'm like way further ahead of like where I actually am. My brain hurts, you know, I'm catching up. I'm fighting. So then let's talk about medical versus recreational, medicinal versus recreational. So some people use weed medicinally, and they use it solely medicinally. You know, there's a lot of people in this world, I think, that fall into that category, actually. Again, unfortunately, cancer patients. There's a lot of people in this world who have never decided to use that, or even, you know, in their minds, they imagine, I will never touch weed unless I get cancer, because then your appetite is going bad, and then you're physically going through a lot of pain. And you know, if you have radiation in your body, I think you deserve a little weed and a little smoke. So yeah, that's medicinal. But then some people use it both medicinally and recreationally, and that's probably where I am, right? And then there's some people that use it solely recreationally. But then also those people sometimes don't even realize that they're using it medicinally, because they're like so depressed. Because we live in a capitalistic hellscape, unfortunately. And I think if we lived in a different society, you know, I'm not saying like a utopia, but if things were better, if things weren't so difficult that we all needed antidepressants or whatever, then I think that maybe it wouldn't be the case that it would be so easy to go into medicinal if you're recreationally using weed, you know? But that's just like my little conversation on that, because weed is a medicine at the end of the day. And even the people that are using it solely recreationally, like I think a lot more people are using it medicinally than they think. And that's the point of my story, you know? And also then those people that are in jail, you know, you're taking away a medicine from not only that drug dealer or whatnot, but a community, right? A society. And so the more people that we incarcerate, the more that we're taking off good drugs from the market, unfortunately. And again, why are we taking weed off the market when, you know, heroin and fentanyl, unfortunately, is getting distributed by doctors, by big pharma, you know? Anyway, my own journey. That's the last thing that I want to talk about. We're 20 minutes into this podcast, and typically we have a 30-minute podcast, but it's okay. It's okay if we don't, because not every single day is 30 minutes. I'm gonna stand. These are my shorts that I'm wearing today. I'm standing because my knees hurt, because I'm on my knees. But yeah, my own journey, you guys know, I've been through it. I've been through a lot. I have laundry that I'm working on right now. Again, this is late at night. I really need to get on a better schedule with my recording and posting process. My notes on my podcast have been pretty good. Like, I think I have until like May on this, or June. Yeah. I don't have the interviews written down, but I will talk to people soon. And now that I have a car, that's going to be a much easier. And, you know, again, I'm very sad that this is the conversation that we're talking about today, because while I'm free, there are people that are incarcerated right now that have died for this. And those are the front lines. These are all the front lines. So thank you so much, as always, if you have sat here listening to me ramble, mamble, jamble, whatever, gramble. I appreciate you guys, as always. Again, I will say that to the end of the universe. If you guys have Letterboxd, follow me. My username is Pleiades T, Pleiades. Again, that is Pleiades T on Letterboxd, Pleiades. I'm letting you guys know because I want more followers on Letterboxd, and I want more reasons to watch movies. I want more friends on there. Also, I have Animal Crossing. If you guys have Animal Crossing, be my friend on there, because all I have are pears and coconuts and cherries, because I didn't make him, but my boyfriend bought Animal Crossing as well, and he got pears on his island, thank God. And then it pissed me off because he got cherries like immediately, and it's like, come on, like, where are my oranges and peaches? Like, I've been playing for so freaking long. But yeah, if you guys have Animal Crossing, I'll send you guys my Nintendo friend number privately. I can message you guys. You guys can text me if you guys have my number. If you guys don't, then message me on the comment section, and I guess I'll figure out a way to contact you on Instagram or Facebook or something. You know, there's many different social media platforms, Twitter, Blue Sky, Tumblr, I don't know. We can message somewhere. WhatsApp even, you know. You can message me on my number, especially if you know me. So that's about it for my journey. I'm gonna go post this. Thank you guys so much. If you guys watch this, like I said, educate yourself, brush your teeth, take care of yourself, your family, your car, your heart, your room, clean, do laundry, eat healthy foods, and love yourself. Please take care of your mental health. And until next time, bye-bye. I love you.